I did not like the Percy Jackson movies. I know that's a pretty popular opinion, but I have a question about that, actually. Why did the movies provoke such a strong negative reaction from fans? Why did they feel so off, so changed and different, yet distantly familiar, like a distortion of a childhood memory? Wait, that's exactly what that was, actually. The Percy Jackson books, first published in 2005 with The Lightning Thief, is a story of 12-year-old Percy Jackson, who is accused of stealing Zeus's master lightning bolt, discovers his demigod powers as the son of Poseidon, and he joins Camp Half-Blood, where he learns of his involvement in a prophecy in which he interprets that he will determine the fate of the world when he turns 17. He is called on a quest, gifted with a pair of magical shoes that allow him to fly short distances and a magical sword. He ventures to save his mother from Hades, god of the underworld, with his longtime friend Grover and his new demigod friend Annabeth, daughter of Athena. He travels across the continent only to realize Hades was not the true thief, but that Percy had been tricked by Ares into bringing the lightning bolts into the underworld, so that Kronos, the Titan of Time, could get his hands on it using those magical shoes. Percy fights Ares, wins, and returns the bolt to Zeus before returning to camp, saving his mother. He is then attacked by his friend Luke, who reveals he was the spy inside the camp working for Kronos. He poisons Percy and escapes, to reappear in the next novel. In the Percy Jackson movie, produced in 2010, Percy and the gang have been aged up to 16. This was likely because of the success of the Twilight movies 2 years prior. Annabeth has been merged with another character, Clarice, daughter of Ares, and has an entirely different personality. Rather than the focus being on getting across the United States to find the entrance to the underworld, they spend the majority of the runtime trying to gather 3 pearls that they can use to escape the underworld. This is a rushed sequence of events that doesn't leave room to breathe across the movie's strict 2-hour runtime, and major parts of the world building are left out, such as the master shop owner who demonstrates how monsters hide in plain sight using the mist, which obscures the secret world from ordinary people. They battle Hades, who is instantly KO'd by Persephone, and Grover stays behind with her, while the others go to the Empire State Building to return the lightning bolt before Zeus can declare war. They encounter Luke, and Percy fights with him over the streets of Manhattan, who after the fight is thrown into the ocean. Why did the audiences react so badly to the changes in this film? For one, the books were beloved. They had amassed a very loyal following, especially among kids and teenagers, so to see it finally adapted only to be absolutely dismantled was pretty disheartening to say the least. Additionally, the characters were very different from who they were in the books. Percy, Annabeth, Grover, they didn't feel like the same characters. And perhaps the most common complaint of this movie was how it just absolutely fumbled its villains. Hades was never intended to be a real villain. He was intended to be a fake-out, leveraging audience expectations. The real villains were supposed to be Kronos, Ares, and Luke. But between them, only Luke makes an appearance, and the way that they handle him was incredibly different from his appearance in the book. So, how does this connect with the circuit of culture? We can gather from this story that in the production of the film, the producers were influenced by the success of other films that were popular and making money at the time. For example, the Twilight franchise and Harry Potter franchises were successful and had similar target audiences. Through the creative liberties taken by the film to make it more similar to these franchises, we can observe how lived culture influenced the production of this movie. We can then analyze this movie as an adaptation of an existing work and look at what was lost between media: characters, scenes, important plot beats, and establishments for future movies. We can just see how it changed. We can then observe how this provoked backlash from fans, and then we can see how that backlash affected the culture of Percy Jackson communities. They were skeptical and wary of any adaptations for a long time, and production stopped after the second Percy Jackson movie. This led into the apprehension towards the Percy Jackson television show, which is currently airing and has received a uh, generally positive feedback from fans. The first Percy Jackson film is an example of how a piece of media can be so badly translated from one media to another that it alienates its intended audience from the material, damages the reputation of the original source material itself, and just leaves everyone really dissatisfied. You can use this information to contextualize attitudes towards the Percy Jackson TV show and how audiences can change from skeptical to accepting of new adaptations. Why did fans reject this movie? It didn't feel like an adaptation of the existing media. So much had been lost that they didn't even recognize it.